have been searching the North Market for Lavis Falamir, and we'll pick up this week, basically this actual Sunday, the equivalent of September 17th, where you guys find your first clue on Lavis, unless you had something else that you wanted to do beforehand. Does it sound to you all like you want to pick up with that search? Did anything kind of pick up priority where you want to like shelve the search for Nefrandel?
I would say probably um, finding Nefrandel would be still our first priority, with the knowledge that like we don't want to probably don't want to put off the whole finding a way to seal up the Bane warrant, or find a way inside to get after for too long. But
Yeah, I mean, might as well at least keep looking. I'd feel bad if we didn't, but she's probably dead, and I think she did owe me money.
So if you continue your search for Nefrandel, and you all are continuing the search for Falamir in the North Market, you have this other week kind of go by where you're not seeing any signs of this book salesman, this broker who you picked up. What was it? The genealogy of the like founding. No, it was like a pirate one, right? Wasn't it like specific about like some of the different waters around Tolis?
yeah, so it was founding seafarers of the Western Empire.
Okay, yeah. So you're kind of like looking for the same person. You basically understand them to be one and the same. Um, I'm not sure that you ever got a name from this person, but at very least, you're starting to kind of come to terms with if this person is sort of like a vaguely nefarious figure, an information broker who kind of works both criminal as well as like lawful sides of the spectrum. Everything to them is simply the expenditure of money. If you will pay enough, they will get you the information you desire. And this kind of puts Lavis in sort of like a weird position in the city because to them, there's not really sides. There's only the money if you've got the coin. Can I have one of you, whoever is first is what we will count, roll the D100? And I'll tell you what, I rolled high, so just don't roll higher. Excellent. So at some point in your search, you kind of come to just like a random sort of like alley in the North Market, and you find that there's just a random sort of like alcove kind of thing where you like go behind a cement wall, and it's just the slightest little bit of a view while you're walking through the North Market that it catches your eye that that's the cart of this person, and you basically go back, sneaking somewhat onto somebody else's property, you're sure. But this is more important than worrying about whether somebody cares. Nobody answers when you call for help. But you basically find this cart is kind of like abandoned here. And with a little bit of searching through it, again, you can find some really cool books like on the cart. It's not really what has your attention at present, but you're kind of like looking through the cart, and you do start to gather a sense of there are notations on papers, and when you start to coalesce the papers together, you can kind of see like a lot of this is sort of written in gibberish, but you do start to pick up different words of sort of importance to you, where you might start to notice that like um, Nestor Kemp happens like over and over again, and you know that like Nefrandel's name is Nefrandel Cartier, with a K, and you're starting to like kind of reference like, oh, I met Nestor Kemp today in, and it's like damp water, uh Squire or like Delver Square, and you're kind of like noticing like these notes are basically like different names given to similar things, and you can kind of pick out that they follow this kind of pattern, and you're starting to like unravel little bits of how these papers kind of come together to kind of give you like a little bit fuller of a story. But eventually you kind of come to realize like Nestor Kemp was given this information in Dampwater Squire to go see the um, Oaken Square, which takes you like Old Town, and it basically tells you like this different level, and it gives you kind of three streets that's um, coincide into Old Town. And those are the first times that you actually can kind of like pick together like this Oaken Square follows by three like names three different times, and these names actually give you like a cross street basically, um each time like in Old Town. So you kind of like go and, you know, I don't think I have an actual location for this building. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, okay, there is no location for this one. So um you kind of have it give you, let's see, where's an interesting cross street here? Um, we will say it gives you I don't like nowhere where it actually gives me all three. Um, Dust, Ridge, and then Emperor, right? I think that's no, not quite. That's not going to do it. Yeah, there's never really a point where three kind of coalesce. Maybe I fucked up by just saying three. Um, because I feel like it's almost like an alley that would be sort of the third here, with how a lot of these kind of like come together. Um, but basically, my point of getting at is that you're kind of translating like a coded sort of missive that are all of these tiny little notes that, you know, have like 5 and 6 words on them. Most of them don't necessarily have a point, or you're just not connecting all of those dots. And it probably comes to reason that between these like 15 or so different pieces of paper, there might be 3 or 4 different coded messages like total that are hidden, and you're just finding this one because you know enough about Nefrandel and you found other information that makes it easy enough to translate at this point. But you can basically understand that somewhere between like Dust Street, Emperor's Road, and Ridge Road, you're looking for this particular apartment. Um, you have a reference to this other building, which is, I think it's called, there we go, Alum's School of Thought. And basically, you're kind of like looking for these two different things, like a storehouse that seems to be used as this apartment, where Nefrandel seems to have been sent, or this Alim School of Thought seems to be where the storehouse is located. And sort of the way you can kind of pick this apart is to basically see like uh damn, I lost her name from my memory. Lavis. Lavis is basically like searching for signs of Nefrandel after the fact. You can see some of these things, like, say, one of these pieces of notes is written on like a gazetteer from after Nefrandel has gone missing. So there's signs that basically Lapis is looking for Nefrandel even after giving her the information that Nefrandel initially left for. So you can basically spot at least the first little inclination that part of Lavis being missing is actually because Lavis might realize that they got Nefrandel into trouble. And that's sort of where we'll kind of like pick up when you guys do find this cart on basically this Sunday, the equivalence of September 17th inside of Tolus. So with that kind of like, I don't know, explication of where you guys go, that like little bit of like an info dump, you've got a place where you're going. You guys can kind of make your decisions as you're kind of together here. Do you go straight off there? Do you already have sidekicks with you? Do you want to return and go gather some of your fellow adventurers? What sort of thoughts do you all have in mind if the initial quest before you is basically leading you to this place where two missing people have gone? Two people have gone and gone missing.
Is it might somewhat depend on if we want to try and stay inconspicuous as we're following this up, or kind of go in with force, right? Because if we want to be a little more inconspicuous, maybe we kind of keep the numbers lower. But obviously, if we're expecting a fight, then it would be good to have some backup.
I mean, Neffy ain't the strongest, but if they took it by force, they must have some kind of fighting abilities. So maybe we should bring backup. Unless you think you could sneak us in or something. I mean, go invisible or something.
Well, you make a good point. We don't really know what we might be dealing with. Strength in numbers and all that. Maybe it would be best to have some backup.
Yeah, backup is never wrong. So, more people to help us look for her, then hopefully the easier it get. Hopefully.
The intention then is to pick up some of your other fellow adventurers. Who is everybody going after?
Oh, what's Lavis's player type again? Or like thing?
Lavis, as far as you guys know, is not necessarily an adventurer. Lavis is effectively a uh what is what is it when you like people who bring stuff to market?
Oh, my bad. I think I said the wrong name. Who is the NPC you did today?
Oh, that was Kalimtas. That's the head of the Twin Star Marauders.
Oh, he's not like a guy we use. I got you.
I mean, you guys could call on him. Kalimtas, though, is tends, I would say, to be a wizard.
I think I'll stick with Bob the Lizard.
I think Dalton's gonna go with the woman that he had freed from, uh, who had been a servant of the Balcazars. I'm blanking on her name. The one that we captured and then
I want to say
freed.
Katarina.
Yeah, it was definitely someone with a K like that. Katarina's works for me. Yeah.
Karina.
Karina, yeah.
Uh, so effectively, I would say she's anything sort of sneaky, between like a rogue, a ranger, could easily be like a fighter. Do you have something in mind what she is?
Um, I guess maybe just like I feel like we have a couple cut purses, but I mean that could work for her.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things to understand is, the more you guys need rogues around you is part of how you end up with more rogues.
Yeah, and I'll bring Terry with us.
Is that what you will end up doing though? Is rocking her out as a cut purse?
Yeah, I think that cut purse works.
I like it. So as you like put more into rogue, like for your character, you're gonna start like hanging out with more rogues.
Yeah, yeah, I think. And Mara, I found the stat block for it, so I'm all set
Excellent.
there too.
Let's see. I already have Bob and Terry drop. And there's Karina. Oh, I even already had her dropped as a cut purse. Like, I already had that created.
Yeah, I think I used her at least once before, and that's probably what we went with last time too. So
Righty. So when you guys basically head off into Old Town and start to search through, again, this is pretty typical, kind of like moving through the city at this point. You don't have a lot of issues of people. Everybody is still kind of like vacated at this point. But if you guys would, can I have each of you please roll a d10?
I've got a 9.
almost a 1, but mine is a 9 as well.
All nines.
I'm pretty sure that means the Veilous Moon is returning and the Night of Dissolution is now. The world ends. Finite. It's been a pleasure, guys. I hope you enjoyed today. We'll start designing the next quest campaign and we'll begin next week.
Nice. We just won D&D.
Oh, you guys actually want to go through the actual ending of the world. Okay, I guess we can do that as well. So you can basically head through the city. There's really not much going on. The streets are vastly empty as there's less and less kind of going on. You guys can see on different corners, there are occasionally criers who are still kind of sharing the news that they find from gazetteers. You can basically pick up one of these gazetteers for a couple of silver to basically see that At this point, it seems like the barbarian horde is much smaller than it was ever called to before, than the rumors were sort of calling to. And it seems that they're not nearly as hostile as you might think, as this horde has come looking for their own king, someone who they say was abducted by the people of Tolis. And they don't even necessarily name the emperor as this person who took their king. Um, can I have you all roll a insight, please?
Well,
It's 17.
Uh,
Gotcha. What was yours, Gail?
yeah, it's a 10.
Gotcha. So Dalton, you're kind of like glancing over this article, and you more than the others, kind of like notice some of the different things that the gazetteer sort of like mentions on how they're reporting on like this barbarian horde coming after this person who took their own king. You kind of have a little bit of a like piqued interest in, it might be worth going to see one of these like reporters basically, and trying to find out a little bit more information here, as your kind of interest is piqued to almost think like they seem as if the barbarians are kind of like describing a chaos cult, or at least cultists, when they talk about like the people of Tolis who came and took their king. You know, you're kind of like picking up subtle hints of how like, I don't want to be like super explicit in saying like the barbarian says like the people of the Black Hand like came and took our king, but you're kind of like picking up like subtleties that would basically fit like, there's a reference to a bell, there's a reference to a black hand. It's not like specifically said like clear, but it's just kind of like you're subtly like reading between the lines of these quotes from barbarians seem to be awfully close to like the double-headed serpent. You know what I mean? Like it's cluing into these very same chaos cults that you all have been tracking down. And it's enough for you to wonder, if do the reporters know more? Maybe it's worth talking to them. If not, do the barbarians say everything is clear? Maybe it's worth going to see them and see if you can actually find more information. But it's definitely going to be enough for you to start to wonder, like, the barbarians did not come here to kill the emperor. They've come here for something else, and that something else may be related to these chaos cults.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Dalton will mention that to the others. Maybe suggest like kind of point to like one of the names, like either the byline, the writer, or if there are specific barbarians mentioned as giving quotes in the article, and be like, this might be something worth investigating after we get Neffy back. And probably stick he'll keep a copy of the Gazetteer, just kind of stick it in his pack to read over again, later at his leisure. But yeah, definitely something that would pique his interest, given definitely not what we had been kind of led to expect with regard to the barbarians. So definitely interesting development.
I'm starting to think they're in the business of selling fear. Always seems like it's the end of the world, and then turns out to be just another Tuesday.
Well, if what I'm reading between the lines is correct, perhaps and if the cults are involved, perhaps they kidnapped this person with the hope that the barbarians would descend on the city. Rather good way to sow chaos is to call down a horde of barbarians. But I certainly take your point.
I mean, that's definitely a devious plot. And even if it's something more simple than that, maybe they just took them for whatever reason, not expecting the barbarians to end on the city. But either way, knowing that they're not necessarily hostile towards all of us, to be a peaceful resolution is, well, promising.
Agreed. It would be nice to have one less thing to deal with.
Yeah, and again, like effectively, the barbarian horde has been outside of the southern gate of Tolis for 8 days now. It's been here in Tolis for some time, and they have effectively, as far as you all are concerned, come peacefully. Like they're here for war, but they have not come and immediately like besieged the gates of Tolis. They came and started entering like peace talks on some level. Um, so that's one thing where that alone is a lot for you guys to take in. Dalton is picking up those extra notes that would clue you in that it is probably a chaos cult, if not this like group of cults that has again potentially done something to bring this about.
Right, because you said the 12, I think, the commanders, because I know one of the people we wanted to speak to was unavailable, and so I guess maybe they're the ones who are out parleying with the barbarians.
Yeah, the 12 commanders have been in peace talks basically for these 8 days with the barbarians. You guys don't have access to them, but again, I would say it's within that article to basically understand um like part of what you could pick up is basically hearing that the 12 commanders have denied that they took the king, so they don't have a king to return to these barbarians.
Gotcha. Okay, and then yeah, at some point barbarians might get impatient, but for now they seem to be holding off. So yeah. And just think of all the free drinks we get if we were the ones to send the barbarian horde off.
Probably be free drinks for life if we save the city, return the king. Damn, Neffy.
And also, you guys know Neffy went of her own free will, so like she doesn't think she needs saving.
Yeah, she has a tendency to get involved, bite off more than she can chew, though.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So at this point, we've reached Old Town, and we're in the vicinity of what we think this Alum School of Thought building might be the last place, or one of the places mentioned in kind of the notes that we had recovered, right?
Yeah, I think those lines may be a little bit too. Oh, why did I draw them with the bots account? Damn it, Bobby. Um, got confused there. I like started to move in the bot so I could show it. Then I deleted some stuff, and then I was drawing with the bot. So part of what I was getting at here is when you go to Old Town, these are the roads that you understand the reference to Master Alam's School of Thought. So those are kind of the roads that are sort of referenced within these notes. And it basically is going to kind of the idea that I was going for was that they give you like starting points to sort of start to search for this school of thought. And eventually you guys will basically spot that like the actual school itself is kind of like at the cliff's edge of Old Town, and then behind it there is a storage building that is kind of isolated from the building, and that is in particular looks abandoned, but it's one of those things where you kind of this is where all signs are pointing to, and this is basically going to take us then where I'll move it over to the actual map. And you guys can spot there appears to be a small, say like what, like 30 by 70-foot building. It seems to have two different entrances into this storehouse, where you could enter either from the, what is it, southwest or northeast of the building.
And just to make sure here, are we fully rested or what's our condition?
Oh yeah, yeah. This is back to the same style of like every day is a fresh day. You're well rested. The only
Okay.
times that really ever changes is going to be like when you guys like effectively are staying inside of dangerous places.
So, if Dalton's going to suggest maybe we, so you said there's one on the southeast.
So those yellow bars, those are effectively where there are like you can obviously this is meant to be you guys have like scouted this location to understand that there is an entrance on the southwest and then on the northeast.
Yeah, Dalton's going to suggest maybe we try to circle around and come in from the, it looks like maybe the smaller northeast entrance.
If we scouted it a bit, did we see any traffic one way or the other that would make us think that one is like the front entrance and one is like the rear?
I would say put that to a survival.
It's nothing. It's sub 10. It's a 6.
As far as you can see while you're like looking over, this place is not used. Your information tells you that this is the place that you want to be. Looking at the actual like ground around this place hasn't been touched for ages. You should just go home and write Neffy off as dead.
Clearly, we got bad information.
Well, looks can be deceiving, but it's doesn't look promising. But we've come all this way.
Yeah, so when you guys are set, you can basically set yourself at whichever entrance you want to go to. I opened up that spot purely because that's where I dropped all your characters.
Yeah. So again, yeah. So Dalton's suggestion is to maybe circle around, try that northeast area. If anybody has any objections or different ideas.
Oh, I'm fine with going that way.
Did you guys just cut through the house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You blew our cover.
That's nice about Owlbear Fog of War, because I think if you did that on like Roll20 with dynamic lighting, all of a sudden you'd see what's actually underneath it.
Oh yeah, that would definitely suck.
So Dalton will kind of move up to the door, and he's eager to try out his new skills on lock picking. So he'll take a look at the door, see if if there's any visible lock. If not, assuming everyone's ready, he will go to try to quietly open it.
Yeah, it would appear to be locked. More or less kind of like a typical sort of like house lock for Tolus. This is effectively like it looks like a locked sort of shed. So you can definitely try to pick it. If you would like, you can use Karina to give yourself advantage attempting to pick said lock.
Yeah, she'll kind of like stand over him and like give very sarcastic and um, like actual helpful advice, but she's clearly not like a good natured teacher. But that should be so. These tools that just allows to add proficiency bonus, right? If I'm skilled with them.
Yeah. You learning how to pick locks is far less useful than like anybody else because you already had Jack of all trades.
Okay, so that will be a 19 with advantage.
Excellent. Yeah, so it doesn't take you long to pick the lock. After a few moments, you kind of like do slowly start to open the door, and you basically open the door to a small room that's about what, like 15 by 10. It seems filled with refuse and trash, doesn't appear to have anywhere to go beyond that room. And it's also basically just whoops, what? On a circle. Just this like room that kind of like sticks off from the rest of the building. So once you open that up, you kind of just feel like isolated into this room of trash back here.
Dalton will he'll step inside. Probably impossible to tell, but he'll try to look for anything that looks like it could be a disturbance in terms of I guess like actual like footsteps, or maybe any area that's less dusty, or maybe like I mean everything's probably hauling up broken stuff and everything, so kind of difficult to tell what might be recent. But
Attempting to find signs of like where somebody would enter into a secret entrance. Is that what you mean?
yeah, I guess maybe like anything that maybe looks like it's a little like stacked a little too oddly, or compared to the rest of the jumble.
Gotcha. So you could do a perception. If you're just kind of like looking for something that seems odd, you could do an investigation. If you're more trying to like assess what's going on and figure out something that seems like out of place. But the investigation might be a little bit more hands-on. That's kind of one of the things I tend to get to, is that the investigation's like looking and then deducing from it as well.
Yeah, I think he would be a little more hands on here, so I would go ahead and do investigation.
All right. Yeah, let me get that roll. You can have
Uh,
it with advantage, please.
so it's a 10. Okay, so 13 total.
Gotcha. Um, Let me have a dexterity save from you, please.
19.
So as you are like going around this room and you're kind of like looking through things, trying to find different signs of like this, that, any signs of people having been in here recently, you eventually kind of like get to a point where you like feel like you like knock over like a beaker and like start to wonder, oh my god, was that piss? And then like all of a sudden it's like starting to react with your skin and it's starting to burn and it's getting hotter and hotter, and then you can feel that it's starting to like burn past your actual muscles and it's starting to sear into your bone, and you feel an incredible visceral pain. You are going to have dodged much of this liquid spilling onto you, but you are going to take 12 points of acid damage as you look through this place and apparently spill some liquid that was not just as mundane as it could have been on yourself.
All right. I'm going to see if the pain is so bad that Dalton kind of cries out, or is he managed to kind of like grimace and bear it without making too much noise.
12 points is not like half of your hit points, though, right?
No, not quite. No. Yeah, I think he'll more or less be able to kind of like he'll let out more of a gasp of pain rather than like a kind of a shout, and uh, he'll kind of back away, back towards the door, kind of like. Well, have the others come inside as well, or are they staying outside? While he starting to do that kind of search.
I'm not digging around in the trash at the moment.
I think Gail took like one look into that room, seeing its trash state, and just, yeah, oh, you go first.
Yeah, so Dalton will kind of back out, and you'll see he's kind of like probably some like holes in some of the the leather and like kind of burned scars on his arms. Um, he's going to go ahead and he's just going to cast a cure wounds on himself at first level to try to take away the worst of that. But he'll, as he like lets them know kind of what I seem to knock over something. Does seem a bit odd that something like that would be stored amidst all that trash, because that why would somebody have left acid there?
Roll an insight check for me, Dalton.
That would be an 11.
It's kind of a weird one. Um, for now, I'm gonna kind of leave it at that. That maybe this one just is like its own little storeroom. So you guys might have a solid reason to understand that the other entrance is the entrance to the rest of this building.
Yeah, so Dalton will, after he's done kind of healing up most of his wounds, he will. Looks like you two were probably right. And really, nothing much in there. Perhaps we should try the other door.
mean, if it's a dead end, might as well give the other one a try. Something? Are you hiding something from us? You find something in there?
Just a beaker of acid that rather precariously placed. Managed to knock it over unintentionally, but nothing useful.
You think it was a trap or just a random beaker of acid?
Yeah, given all the mess in there, it's pretty tough to tell. I didn't see anything that it would have been put there to conceal or to guard. No secret doors or signs of recent traffic that I could see. Simply bad luck on my part, perhaps.
I suppose it makes sense. I mean, there's probably no good place to store your acid. No matter where you have it, it's probably a bad place.
I mean, some places are better than others, but yeah, with the way that room looked, I'm pretty sure they don't really know their proper waste management.
Well, I suppose one bit of good news is I didn't find Nefrandel's corpse in there. If they had killed her, it seems like maybe that'd be the place to throw it.
Unless, of course, they had enough acid to burn away any evidence. Acid bath.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
I joke around a lot, but you guys really think she's dead?
Certainly hope not. It has been a few weeks, but we should proceed on the assumption she is still alive. Perhaps we're even worrying for nothing. Perhaps she's always said she can handle herself.
Oh, I mean, last time she went off on her own, she went and joined a cult.
So, to the other entrance then.
All right.
So, in a similar way, when you all head to the other entrance, you will find it is locked. Very similar kind of key setup. Again, it is the southwest. It's that very southern part, 10 feet.
Yeah, so Dalton will once again try to pick the lock.
So, same idea. You can pick it with advantage here.
That was less successful. 11.
Gotcha. Takes you a little bit longer to get through this lock. You definitely like struggle for a few moments, but without like breaking your pick or anything, you eventually do make your way into opening it. As you kind of like pop it open, you take another moment to like wait before opening the door, and you can open the door a very similar way. You're going to find this is another room about 15 feet by 10 feet. It is filled with refuse, trash, and all kinds of things, and would appear to go nowhere else. It's isolated apparently from the rest of this house.
So what are we missing? I mean, is there a secret entrance or secret tunnel or something else? There, Did anybody see any windows? Maybe we have to climb through to the second floor.
I don't believe you have a second floor here. This is just kind of like a single floor, sort of like back storehouse behind the School of Thought.
And are the walls? So Dalton's thinking maybe I don't know, maybe like some of the if there were other doors, maybe they've been kind of like walled up. Um, so can you start kind of trying to very carefully trying to sift through, like get move through some of the refuse in here, but trying to like kind of go along the walls and maybe like tapping on them, trying to sense if he can like either if there's like a hollow area, something might have been um, or like a difference in like the kind of like whatever's behind the wall. I don't know if it's like just straight wood or if it's like kind of plastered over or something.
Gotcha. This sounds a little bit like you're just doing like a physical investigation to try to make your way into finding what would appear to be a hidden door. So if you would be so kind, roll a investigation for me.
Oof. 10.
And let me get a dexterity save from you.
25.
In a similar fashion, while Dalton is going around this room, there is a point where Dalton is like tapping, moving along. And you are going to take 10 points of electricity damage as one of these quick little raps against the wall. You feel like a shock like fly through your body, and you're stunned for like a moment. Not actually like the stunned condition, but there's just like that like shock of like, what did I just tap that I just got shocked by something? Like, this is clearly not just a happenstance. It's not so mundane as I knocked something over. I wasn't looking through things. I wasn't disturbing things. I tapped the wall. And basically come to kind of realize like there's some sort of trap here protecting something, and all signs in your heads are telling you that you've probably found two different entrances into this house, but you found the traps, not the entrances themselves. So you can have advantage in searching deeper. You may also find yourself setting this trap back off again. But at present, you're at least aware enough that this house has an entryway. You don't know where it is yet, but you at least have a sign where two of them likely are.
Yeah, so after Dalton kind of like smooths his hair back down and kind of like maybe his like teeth chatter for a moment from the electric shock, but yeah, he'll look back to the others and definitely didn't knock anything over that time, so uh, I think this one's definitely a trap, which I have to assume means there might be something behind it. But and he'll kind of like be closing and opening his fingers in his hand, like he's looking a little a little roughed up. Um, anyone else care to maybe give it a try, see if they can maybe there's a way to bypass it?
I mean, I could. Well, I could do some detect magic if we think it's magical, or I could just take a stab at looking around things if you want to. See if I can find what if you missed something.
Might be worth seeing if I don't know if that was magical or not. Could be some sort of mechanical thing, but probably worth it.
All right, then give me 10 minutes. Gale starts setting up like a ritual detect magic.
And maybe for those 10 minutes, Dalton's going to will spend trying to maybe like from the near the area where he felt where you got hit by that shock, like if there are like crates or barrels or trash, like trying to clear away some of the kind of the detritus from that area, just to kind of busy himself for those 10 minutes.
Gotcha. So predominantly that would probably be basically that like northeastern corner of the room, just trying to clear away some of that trash.
Yeah, just trying to make it like a bit easier to kind of get to, and yeah.
And Jinx is otherwise patiently waiting.
Yeah, I think I'll just smoke a couple of cigarettes. I'll maybe help out with like a prestidigitation or two as anyone digging around in the trash gets dirty.
Let me have Dalton and Gale roll. Let me have Dalton roll a d8 and Gale roll a d6.
I got a 2.
And a 4 for me.
Excellent. So yeah, you kind of continue to like move away this trash, clearing out the corner, while Gale is basically in the process of creating this magical spell through the weave, and eventually, you are going to be able to finish. And I would say at present, I don't believe you see any signs of magic.
Is there's not anything magical right now? Can see.
So something mechanical then must be. So Dalton is going to.
Give me an Arcana check,
Sure.
just like a 10 plus.
16.
Yeah, so uh, it could be mechanical, or it expended itself when you got shot.
Oh, one and done, I think. Yeah.
Or even that like it's not charged back up. Like it might charge back up in time. It might be once per dawn. It might be, once per hour. You don't necessarily know like the function of the magic to necessarily know all of it. But I would say that you're at least attuned enough with magic to recognize like it doesn't have to be mechanical just because he doesn't see it now, because he cast it after you got shot.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I think Dalton's still a bit leery, but he'll go up towards the kind of the area of the wall that he got the shock from, and try and take like a closer visual inspection of that and see if there's like anything that looks off, that maybe there's something he can.
Go for a perception this try with advantage.
17.
Yeah, getting up into the corner and looking closely, you've kind of cleaned everything away. Don't see any signs of this being where you would expect a secret door to be.
Can I? Sorry, was someone else going to say something there?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like, if I kind of look around the outside here, like, assuming that that room is, just a separate part of this, what do the walls feel like for the main part of the place? Like, are they like just feel like a single layer of wood? Does it feel like it's like concrete? Like, is there seem like there's a way we could potentially force our way in?
I would say something like wood and like stucco sort of construction. Um, I would say there's certainly no subtle way to like force your way in. If you don't have a door, you're gonna basically be like destroying a corner of the house sort of thing to get it.
Yeah, so I would say I'm like out here with the crowbar getting like literally nothing accomplished.
But you are indeed like smashing into the side of the house, trying to like dig your way into it.
Oh, not so much like brute force, looking more for like a sweet spot, like a little spot where I can get the crowbar between like two pieces of wood, or like something that seems like a potential like hinge, or like, just kind of doing like a little more of like a kind of gentle attempt at potentially dislodging or something.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would say if you're just like trying to like subtly use the crowbar, at best you're kind of like splintering off little pieces of the wood, like roughing up little bits of the actual like stucco. Somebody's gonna have to come here and find some way to combine a little bit of mud and a little bit of water in order to repair this wall.
Well, in my defense, I was using both hands on the crowbar, and cigarette smoke was going in my eyes. So
It is a horrible thing. So I would say the real thing kind of moving ahead is either to go back to the other room and see if you have any more clues to that, or just kind of reassessing like how would you deal with a place that has no apparent entryway.
I mean, there's got to be a way in on the roof. Could definitely get up there and at least have a look around.
You think there might be a way in through the roof?
I mean, it's worth a shot. I could at least climb up there and see if I find something while y'all down here digging through the trash.
All right.
I don't suppose you have rope, Dalton, do you?
You guys have
Uh,
access to all of the mundane things that you might want.
yeah, Dalton
If
is carrying some rope, so he'll hand it over. But Dalton's also still trying to figure out this weird electrical shock thing.
Gotcha. So you're still focused on the front. What is Gale up to?
And I get. Hmm, I think Gail's gonna like try to look through the trash, like the things in the room, just to find it, like if there's anything that sticks out, and he's gonna like physically dig through what he can find. If there's anything different from the others, or it's just all trash.
Yeah, I'd say looking through the trash, you're just gonna find, it might like point towards like somebody homeless has sort of been like living in this room. There's not really much to the trash other than that you probably want to press to digitate anything that touched any of it, including things that you'll never touch, like the soles of your shoes.
Yeah.
This is sort of like one off of just going through the sewers. So you can get Jinx up onto the roof here. This kind of becomes the same type of thing. If you do much on the roof, this is the same as just like taking a tree and trying to like bash down the wall of this house. There's absolutely zero to accomplish on the roof that is not entirely lacking in subtlety, and you might as well just be trying to wreck the house to make a hole.
I got nothing up here. Doesn't look like any promise at all. And unless we take this place apart, one screw at a time.
So, Dalton, you're still kind of like focused on this room. What sort of thought do you have going on here?
Yeah, I think so. Dalton's gonna try. This might also give away position, but um, no, it's not gonna work.
What are you thinking when you say it's not going to work?
I guess I was thinking of maybe trying to light up like a torch um, without setting the room on fire, but seeing if like if any of this smoke, like almost like looking to see if it slipped through any cracks or anything like that that might suggest like some sort of like opening or gap in any of the walls that might like be a contour of a hidden door kind of thing. Because he feels like there's got to be something that this
I don't think there's any reason to say that there's like a pressure differential that would be like sucking smoke into an area. I would tend to think if something like that's going to work, that it would almost be like if you're coming from underground and think there's a secret entrance between you and the outside world. I feel like that might be higher pressure than the outside world is lower pressure, so that might suck smoke out. You know what I mean? But
yeah, like an air
I
pocket
f-
or yeah.
yeah, I feel like you're almost in the lower pressure area, so like the smoke wouldn't have any inclination to go towards a door. Um, but effectively, I mean, this isn't going to keep you out forever. If you guys are focused on this point, about a half hour is going to go by. You do eventually find the door. You do eventually find the door. It never seems to recharge the electricity. You don't get shocked again. But you do basically find that there is a door effectively directly to the right of where you are at present here, Dalton. You can kind of slide it out of the way, revealing that there is the next room kind of to your right here. It has a door to the north, and then you can see that there is currently an open door to the east, and you can see at least part of a workbench inside of that like next room to your east.
Gotcha. So Gail, Jinx, you would have like stuck around for that half hour while we kind of continued searching.
Yeah, that's effectively like while Jinx is up top on the roof looking for like weak shingles, while Gale is like wallowing in trash like a raccoon. And you can effectively like just focus on that spot where you're almost positive you got shocked. There's a reason you got shocked. You just like basically brute force your way through finding a secret door.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, so he will once he's kind of gotten Jinx back down off the roof, and he will uh, probably definitely moving cautiously here after getting burned twice already. Uh, but he will move into this next room. Um,
You want one of us to lead just in case there's another trap, and I'll like reach out and kind of like touch his shoulder before he like goes through.
well, now that we're inside, I'm hoping there might be fewer of these. Certainly, this part of certainly looks a bit more used. So, but I'll just speak. I think as long as I'm careful, I should be okay. But I appreciate the concern.
All right. Well, just in case, and I'm gonna do a cure wounds level 1 on you. For 7.
Much appreciated. So do we, as we kind of step inside, do we hear any signs of activity, either like maybe in the workshop, kind of probably more focused on that since we don't see anybody in here?
Stepping in at present, you guys are effectively in a pretty silent place here. You could do a perception check if you would like, but I'm gonna need over probably 25 here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he'll try. Yeah. No. Yeah. So Dalton will start moving. I guess more over towards the workshop. Probably kind of like trying to keep an eye out for like any signs of like a tripwire or anything like that. Um, and is there any sort of like aside from I think you said there's a door to the north here, like any furniture or furnishings within this first room here?
I don't think there's any reason that there wouldn't be some sort of furnishings. Give me an insight check. Over 10.
Nope.
Yeah, I'd say you can see some things that have like sheets draped over them that might be like chairs and whatnot. It's hard to necessarily tell. This more or less seems like a storeroom, but I'm not sure why it would matter whether there are furnishings or not here. But it's not like there's like a chair and tables. It's not like there's, I don't know. Everything here would basically be far more storage related kind of thing.
So okay, so nothing like unusual or that would like catch our eye. Yeah, kind of more what I was going for.
Yeah, yeah, nothing special about this room, really.
Okay, so
If we just like obviously like the refuse area was kind of stinky, but now that we're like inside, as we get away from the refuse area, do we like smell any difference? Does it smell more or less like a rotting carcass?
Roll a perception, Jinx.
It's a 9.
I would say it pretty thoroughly smells like shit, and it might just be Gale.
I'll like try not to breathe, but I'll like slowly like press the digitation him as we're like coming through.
So Dalton's gonna kind of like take a breath and then almost like very quickly like step through the this open doorway, almost like half expecting a trap to go off as he goes in, but he will cross the threshold into the what looks like it might be a workshop here.
Gotcha. Yeah, as you step into that room, you definitely clearly see different pieces of like technology tools. There's different like workbenches, things that are kind of like opened up on the bench. Um, you have proficiency in alchemy?
Nope. No alchemical supplies or tools proficiency.
Yeah, so I think maybe some of the actual tools might sort of be of interest. As you can see, like there's some level of like a blacksmith is making quite custom tools for whoever this person is. There's a lot of stuff that is definitely like very unique metal made especially like you couldn't just go to your father and like simply tell him to make this. It would take some time to like train him to understand what you then want. You know what I mean? Like it almost would require the blacksmith to have some sort of specialty for you to even be able to ask him. Otherwise, it would be so difficult to get them to make some of these tools that you see before you because they're just very alien to what you've seen like your father making for like a farrier.
Sure, yes, almost like you'd have to like create a special mold first and like probably a lot of trial and error and
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like if you draw it on paper, he's probably going to lose some of the dimensionality that is also part of unique to it. It might even be specifically part of the problem is that the person who would ask for the tool might not know how to describe something in a way that a blacksmith would make it. So you would need like both of these two people to be sort of experts in the other one's field for some of these tools to be made. It's that level of like these tools are pretty unique as you see them, and I think you could definitely pick that up pretty quickly. I think I broke my files program.
yes, Dalton will definitely try to take like a mental note and like I'll have to next time he sees his father, I mean he doesn't recall ever seeing anything like this in in the forge, but he'll try to at some point maybe try to describe as best he can kind of what they look like. He's leery of disturbing them, picking them up immediately, given the shocks and stuff he's had already. But so he's kind of keeping his hands to himself for now.
Let's see. I think Gail will like look over the workbench, like if you see if you can find like if there's something actively being worked on or like traces of like the latest thing being worked on. If you can find anything.
Do you have any training in alchemy?
No, sadly, I do not.
Yeah, I would say same kind of idea. Like you can look over these things and something, is like being worked on, but it's completely beyond your field of knowledge.
Do we see anything that looks like it could be like notes or anything with like a drawer where notes might be stored that might shed any light on what this workshop is being used for?
Mm, I don't see any reason. No. This seems to be like the actual like place for things, not necessarily a place for study.
Gotcha. Yeah, so after a few minutes kind of looking around again, kind of leery of touching anything, Dalton's going to kind of they'll look to Gale, and they'll, I guess maybe they can kind of confirm to each other that neither of them can really make heads or tails specifically of what is being worked on here. And Dalton will suggest maybe we go see what might be behind that other door, back out in the other room.
Yeah, let's find out what's behind door number 2.
And Dalton's going to start towards it and then stop and then look back towards Jinx and maybe I'll take you up on that offer, Jinx. You mind? And I'll kind of gesture towards the door.
Oh no, not at all. I don't mind at all. You're doing a great job, Dalton. You just keep it up, and I'm sure you're gonna make it through. And I'm gonna give you bardic inspiration.
Dalton will like open his mouth and like, and then just kind of nod and yes, yes, thank you. And he will step towards this door in the north, and he's going to try and take a look at it, try to see if he notices anything that indicates it might be trapped. I think we've probably spent too much time, so oh yeah, the half hour, yeah. So Gale's tech magic is faded, so but Dalton will kind of give a once over on the door, trying to see if he notices anything that looks like it could suggest it's trapped. Um,
Looking over the door, you don't see any reason to assume that it's trapped.
all right, so he will, not seeing anything, he'll go to try and open it.
So the first thing that happens when you do open this door is that just with opening the door, there is a wafting of stale blood just drawn into the room with that door and the little bit of like kind of wind that's brought in with the door being opened. It just smells of iron. You have like opened the door into effectively a bloodbath kind of thing. And it is a strong, just overwhelming stench. And as your sense of smell kind of like levels itself off, you are basically looking into a long L-shaped room. You can see two different operating tables, each of them kind of steel tables that are about 10 or 15 feet long by about like 5 or 10 feet wide, or like 7 or 10 feet wide. They're very large, kind of like flat steel metal, just like structures, and you can see that they have almost like a like blood router kind of like around the edge of it, so you can kind of see that it's like meant to sort of like open someone up, and any blood just like seeps out onto the table, flows out towards the edge of the table, and then from that edge of the table it has like these little routes that basically take it to a drain and sort of move it out of the way, so you could effectively like bleed somebody entirely dry just on top of this table without it ever like spilling over the edge and sort of creating a mess beyond. There is a door on the far northern side, the tallest part of like this L, and then on the like same part of the L on the western side that is sort of closest to you. And this map is a little bit flipped of that. So let's stick with there's a door on the far northeastern side of the L, and then there is a door on kind of the western side that's a little bit closer to you, but in that same part of the L. Um, there are the two operating tables. Um, bunch of sort of metal contraptions that are like next to these tables, a bunch of like metallic canisters that kind of sit next to these tables. There are wires and plugs and cords and things that like flow out from these contraptions as if they are meant to be attached to things on those tables. Um, Different signs of like maybe not notes kind of like posted against the wall here and there, but you can kind of see like diagrams of different like almost anatomical posters kind of around these walls. um I think that's a pretty solid start to then.
I think we found the surgeon's lair.
Certainly looks like it. I think this is what it takes to chaos tech. I mean, would anyone do such a thing? What power does it offer?
I'd certainly not volunteer to be laying down on that table.
I wonder if the people they're doing this to are volunteers or not.
That doesn't think about that. You don't think Nefrandel. And he kind of like just trails off there.
I have no idea, man. Seems like she's been thinking right lately, doing strange stuff by choice. Who knows?
So I'm sure the operating tables are both like probably heavily stained, but is there any way to tell whether there's any like fresher blood on it would have been at least on either of these tables?
I think the actual idea is that vastly this place is actually relatively clean for
Oh right,
how horrifically it actually smells.
right.
Um, it is like a clear operating theater. But I think the kind of idea is more that it's kind of horrific to like almost like open up into. More because say like the air is like stale in here than that it's actually like gruesome.
Yeah, and you did mention the drains and stuff, and probably I assume probably like the floors might be like tilted a little bit to have like essentially the blood drain towards those drains, and it's almost worse for being so clean because horrible things are happening here, but it looks like almost aside from the smell. Yeah, no, I forgot you did mention the kind of the drains and stuff for almost like in like an abattoir kind of slaughterhouse kind of thing. So
So
Dalton was.
as one
Oh, go
moment,
ahead.
I'm sorry. As you start to actually move into this area a little bit further, you do see that there is like a like sort of vat almost in the back of this room, and that's that like kind of glowing green kind of vat there in that northwestern corner.
Oh, yep. Okay, I see it.
And as you kind of like move into the room, you do see signs that there is a female form within that vat. It appears that there is basically like a, I want to say conical door, but that's wrong. Like it's a cone. Yeah, cones come to a point. What is it? I can't think of a um damn it. It's like the rounded end of a door, so almost as if half of the cylinder, a cylindrical door. So like half of the cylinder kind of like opens. And it seems almost as if this woman is kind of like standing within, maybe like a bath or something. But she seems to just be kind of like standing. And it's only really what kind of draws your attention is once you step kind of into this room, she's looking at you. um, when you start to notice that, you will very quickly notice that one of her hands is missing and she has a sword. Her body, her flesh is scarred horrifically. She is like cut apart and sewn back together. There is stitching over so much of her body. Very much kind of one of those horrific sort of Frankenstein like beasts where like there's stitch work almost over all of her flesh.
Okay. And when you said she has a sword, is she holding the sword in her one remaining hand, or is the sword replaced where her other hand was? Just to clarify.
Oh yeah, she is missing a hand and has a sword there in place of a hand. She does not have to hold onto a sword. She has a sword.
Okay, that's what I thought. Just wanted to, confirm. Yes, Dalton's probably initial thought when he saw like a female form was that, oh god, it's Neffy, and so that's why he would have kind of like started to move closer, and then as he got a little bit closer, sees that. Well, I guess is it obviously not Nefrandel as far or from what he or not obviously, but does it look like
Make a
it?
perception check.
He's so horrified he can't really. That's a 10.
Yeah, you'll need a much closer look to be able to see if that's Neffy. But at present, I would say, you know, you've already moved closer than like what it was when you would first see this. But moving closer is the way to confirm whether this is Nefrandel or not.
Yeah, so as he would have like started initially like kind of almost like running forward when he first thought, and then kind of as he sees like the first kind of signs that it's some horrible kind of Frankenstein kind of thing, he'll slow his approach and almost sort of like kind of like almost like creep, not like trying to be stealthy, but like almost just like creep forward the last maybe like 10 feet or so until he can try to get close enough to confirm whether or not it is Nefrandel in the vat.
As soon as he starts like taking off running, then as Jinx like notices the female form also, he'll stay like pretty close behind Dalton.
Gotcha. So as you guys are kind of like moving and crossing this area, you're basically going to see at some point where you get close enough, she starts to reach with her actual hand and is going to start to like push open the door. And out from within this like cylinder, you're going to start to smell. It's not like gonna be just like as simple as formaldehyde, but the vast thing that would kind of flow out of there is that like horrific stench of formaldehyde. Effectively kind of the idea is there is some level of like death negating or like postponing sort of qualities to this bath, and she is stepping out of it.
Yeah,
You
that was
see
kind
is she just
of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Gotcha. You just see as she kind of like just sort of like slunches over as she like steps the first step like out of this. You can almost see that her body doesn't seem to be like fully capable of holding up its like own weight as she like steps off of whatever is like inside of there. Like she kind of slunches over, and then there's just like a kind of like rough kind of like lifting her body dropping forward as she has like a slow kind of like gait, like shambling towards you.
Does she appear to have a like? Is her mouth? Does she appear capable of speech, or like is this something that's like sewn shut or been replaced? Because if it looks like maybe she can speak, I think Dalton's first kind of initial reaction would be to be like almost just like very shocked, like who are you? And he inadvertently, not inadvertently, kind of almost like involuntarily take like a step back as she starts to exit um the vat.
I don't think there's any reason to say she is incapable of speech via your sight. But when you do say anything to her, there is no response. She continues to kind of like shamble towards you, slowly lifting like the weight of her body, slouching forward as she kind of like falls. This is not somebody who is walking naturally. Um, walking is kind of a sort of controlled falling. You step forward as you kind of like fall forward. We all do it and we all catch ourselves. This is someone who is very like close to any given one of these falls is going to be like a stumble forward, and she just kind of like lifts and falls and lifts and falls.
Jinx is like starts to back up, and he's like, Dalton, back away from that thing.
I don't have a perfect token for this, but a Cenobite is a really, really good representation of what this creature looks like.
Gotcha. And as she is walking forward, um, can Dalton get any sense? Like, does it look like she's raising the kind of the sword arm thing, like, or like making any clearly like antagonistic? Like, I mean, he's definitely freaked out. Um,
I think this would be closer to you just hear the scraping of the sword as it sort of drags behind her.
gotcha. Yeah, so I think Dalton's going to try to kind of following Jinx's lead, start to back up, maybe almost like bumping against this table here as he does, because he's definitely freaked out here, and he's going to just like almost like be shouting like stay back as he tries to start backing up as well.
Gotcha. She continues to kind of like shamble towards you all for a moment until when you say stay back, there's just going to be a flash and just like almost like a light in her eyes, where when you say stay back, it's as if everything changes and her first step is very clearly her body is not as poorly conditioned as it would have seemed. She like steps upright and almost stands like up to like a full like 6 foot stature. No longer is she kind of like slunched over. And you see as she like steps forward almost to the tips of her toes, and she is leaping towards you, and that sword is swinging towards Dalton's neck. I need you guys to roll initiative. It's going to be Dalton versus her, and she's going to have advantage as she is insanely fast.
Yeah, Dalton's a 7, so she's probably gonna beat that.
Didn't matter because I had both of my numbers higher than yours. So she is going to slash into Dalton 3 times. Basically, this is again like she's like in that shamble forward, and by the time you notice that she's like moving with like an alacritous speed, she's already slashed through you 3 times. We'll see how those slashes actually coincide with your actual defense here. Uh, two nat ones and a 3. Holy shit. I don't think there's any chance that that 3 is going to become a hit. But let me bring up the actual stat block. Your AC is 15, right?
Yeah, yeah. If a 3
Yeah,
hits,
I can
then he's in trouble.
guarantee. I know the stat block enough offhand that she does not have a plus 12. So I'm going to say it is going to go to you as she basically leaps forward, and it's just slash, slash, slash. And you are just fast enough that when she like slashes like across you left to right, you're like kind of like stumbling across the table, and like the table pulls your back. So the sword goes, you like pick yourself off the table. You're almost reacting to that stumble and dodging her attacks like accidentally. But she just kind of like leaps forward towards you, covers that ground, and it's going to be to you guys to react here.
Yeah, and I like that visual of basically Dalton's clumsiness kind of saved him there.
That wasn't a coincidence. You were meant to be cursed. And I'm going to hit her with the Bane. It's Charisma 15.
Yeah, you are going to feel as that sinks into her, and she is indeed Bane.
Okay, and then for my bonus action, I'm going to give Gale Bardic Inspiration. Gale, I think now's the time. Do something crazy. And then I'm going to keep backing up.
Yeah, I think Gale will try to do what's it called? Maximilian's Earthen Grasp. So that's DC 16 strength saving throw.
Yeah, she's gonna get grasped by the what is that like stone and gravel kind of like coming up out of the ground.
Yeah, stone and gravel like hand coming up, restraining her, and let's see, 2d6, doing 10 bludgeoning damage.
Anything from Dalton?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so Dalton is going to, as he kind of like stumbles back, evades this. But as you see, it's kind of the the creature starting to be restrained. He's going to kind of try to get over his fear, push forward, and I think Karina is going to be getting ready to move forward as well. I don't know if they can move at the same time or.
Technically, like the idea is for the 3 of you to share a turn, and then we'll have them go after you guys. Um, but on some level, like this style of initiative, there's got to be like a blend of technically they follow you, but the idea is for you guys to still work in concert with the 3 of you. So I'd rather if you do you and then have her follow.
Sure. Yep. Makes sense. Yeah. So Dalton is going to. He's going to move forward. This looks like chaotic sort of creature if he ever saw one. So he is going to, rather than pulling out the anarchic longsword, you're going to see him start. He's going to pull out the So that
Why do you say that? Let me have you do an insight check here for me.
15.
Gotcha. So remember, like a chaos is almost like operating like randomly, whereas like good and evil are, I feel like you're kind of like blending evil and chaos kind of together when you say that. You've already sort of watched this creature kind of like obey some level of rules. It didn't just attack you the moment you were in sight. Like you guys were backing away as if you were doing something wrong before it even attacked you. It wasn't until you guys backed away that you showed that you didn't belong in this room before this thing attacked you. You've seen it obey rules. The Antarctic Sword, probably going to be effective against this creature.
Okay. Yeah. I was thinking like, if this has been, created by
Definitely shows sign of this has chaos tech, but chaos tech is more like a branding from the Church of Lothian than like what the people who use it would call it. The people who use it just kind of call it technology. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Okay. I should keep that in mind going forward. So in that case he will indeed kind of drawing the anarchic longsword and swinging out at this thing two-handed as he tries to find an opening as it after its attacks miss him. And just remind me, Bardic Inspiration, you have to declare that before.
I think Bardic Inspiration, you can roll and decide.
Right. Okay.
Bards are dice manipulators.
Yeah, I am going to use that. I'm going to use my Bardic Inspiration. Try to maybe turn that into a hit. So that's so that'd be a 12 plus 7 would
Solid
be a
hit.
19. And then for it'd be 5 slashing damage, and then or no, sorry, 2 slashing damage. And then if it takes the additional psychic damage, it would be 6 psychic damage for a total of 8.
Excellent. It does indeed take the psychic.
All right. Oh, is it restrained when I've had advantage, just in case I crit?
Yeah,
Does
actually.
everything grass restrain?
Yeah, it does.
Gotcha. Yeah. So fish for that crit.
Okay, no crit, so just normal. Yeah. All right. That will be it for Dalton.
Yeah. So this is where more properly you guys could then like follow suit with your sidekicks.
Okay, yeah. So Karina is going to run forward. And she will just kind of be stabbing out at this thing as hopefully Dalton is distracting it for a moment. That's a 10 for her.
10 to hit is going to be a miss.
Yep. So that's all for her.
Did you roll that with advantage? You still get a 10?
Oh, it's still restrained. Yeah. Yeah, it's still gonna miss. That was
Still
actually
gonna
my
miss.
Terry's going to be using his dash to get up there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not sure where you would have put Terry, but I just dragged him in here at some point. I feel like you forgot to be moving him. So I'm not sure if he had to be 30 feet away, but I don't think it's far fetched to think that you've got one of the tanks at the back of the room.
Let's see. For Bob, she's gonna go up and try to swing her sword at it. Let's see, that's a 26 to hit.
A solid hit.
Is that? Yeah, 10 damage? Yeah, 10 damage. And then second attack. 21 to hit.
Solid hit.
For 13 damage.
And from Terry.
Oh, he dashed, so he doesn't have an attack.
Okay, yeah, my bad.
Oh, and if that thing wants to like try to get out of the earthen grasp, she has to make like her action be a strength check against my DC.
Gotcha. Alrighty. At the end of Bob's turn, she is going to strike out at Bob with disadvantage. Should hit Bob without any problem there.
I think Bob will use her reaction to ignore damage taken.
Gotcha.
But that's just from like one attack. So if there's more attacks coming, and that's my reaction used.
Oh, I am actually wrong. She does actually list as chaotic neutral. So my bad for psyching you out there. I'm gonna take the psychic damage there, still as it was. But after striking her into her with the anarchic sword, I'm gonna change that idea that you at least know, like this time around, then the anarchic sword won't have an effect on her.
Gotcha. Okay.
Monty Cook is one of the actual people I like for actually placing in his fucking shit. Like, hey, this character is this alignment. I still think like the way it describes how she like watches people seems a little lawful to me. Like she's straight up like it's like says like as long as they look like they belong there, she just watches them.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it could be like a chaotic creature, but it's under some sort of like magical compulsion or something that makes it act according to wishes, or I mean, who knows? But yeah,
Oh, it most certainly is. Yeah, so I think she is going to break free of this. So you said it's her action to do so. I think she's going to try to leap free of it. And what's your DC is 15?
It is 16. And she's still Bane, right?
She's indeed, but I have to roll remotely close to it for Bane to matter. So far, all of her rolls have been absolute shit, and it doesn't even really matter. I don't think I've rolled above a 6 with that Bane. I had a 1, a 3, and I think a 4. So,
Yeah, your rolls are
yeah.
really low.
She is pulled like further into the ground by the earthen grasp as she is restrained. And it's gonna go back to you guys.
Yeah, so I think Dalton is going to he's going to drop the sword, and he's going to, you'll see pulling from his belt, he pulls out a straight razor that looks like still bloodied, the one that they had taken off of the, I think it was with the dead ogre minute, or no,
It was the Minotaur.
the Minotaur, yeah. And he is going to attempt to, as kind of as this thing is restrained, slash into it with that. So I don't think he cannot draw two weapons in one turn. He doesn't have that feat, so. Eesh.
Yeah, technically speaking, the free action is the draw. I don't think you would be prohibited to have drawn a weapon last turn. No, you drew your sword. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my bad on like still describing it like that, like psyching you out. I feel like
No
there's no
worries.
reason to penalize you on it though.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not, it's, you're right. But it's not something that like you can just tell from looking at something immediately. Like you can get an idea, but, yeah, but that slash is going to miss. Felton's also rolling pretty terribly today.
I think you already used the bardic inspiration, right?
Yeah, I used it on the previous turn, so yeah,
Gotcha.
that's just going to be a miss there.
Do you want to use its once a turn, like once a day, extra bonus action?
Not yet.
Oh, wait a
Not on
second.
this.
Can't you do its second ability with your actual bonus action? I think you can do the throat slit with your actual bonus action. Is
Oh,
that
that
one limited to once a day?
it is, and it's also when you hit.
Okay. Gotcha. So
Uh,
Gale or Jinx? My bad. If you have
uh,
something else, you're welcome to.
yeah, I am. I might as well. I am going to go ahead and give my bardic inspiration to Jinx.
think Gale will just throw a firebolt at it as it's restrained. Let's see. That would be an 18 to hit.
Does indeed hit.
Or 11 fire damage. That had advantage though, because that was a 1 and a 10.
So
And
Jinx is going.
Jinx,
Oh, my bad. So Jinx is going to vicious mockery and wisdom 15, and he's just gonna yell out, "Might as well crawl back in that little cannon booth of yours there and stand a chance against us."
and the damage.
6 damage.
Let's see. On to your Bob, Karina, and Terry Chin.
Yeah, Karina is Just stabbing out again, and this time she should land hit for 6 total damage, non-magical if that matters.
Oh, and Bob will roll a 26 and a natural 20 to hit for her 2 attacks.
Excellent.
So Terry got a nat 20 and a 3.
It does not bode well for this Cenobite.
Okay, so let's see. That's 6, 4, 9. Let's see. 10, 25 damage total from Bob with the crit.
Does anybody remember, Dalton, maybe, what Terry's damage is? He has that special sword.
Just add it to Jinx, and you should be able to see it. I think it's what is it? Remulus and Romulus spelled backwards. So I think Summer is one of them. But I feel like a great sword is 2d6s, and then it has an extra. But we already determined the extra doesn't add.
Yeah, the twin greatsword is 2d6 plus 1.
Oh wait, does Bob have the other one?
No, I just checked it. But Bob
Okay,
has
gotcha.
their. Oh, and just think a regular greatsword.
All right, so it should be 12 plus I rolled a 5, so 17, and then plus 4.
Well, no, that's what I was saying. The extra damage doesn't happen because it is a chaotic creature.
Okay, so 17 total?
The 2d6 was rolling for its damage, right? And what'd you roll on those?
I got 5.
Plus 12. So that's the 17. Plus your strength bonus. What's his normal plus modifier on Terry? You have the card for him. I think he's, what is it, the Warlord? I think he's a plus 4. So 21 total.
Yeah, plus 4. D12 plus 4.
So as the B squad finishes up, the A squad steps in, and the Cenobite goes from basically looking perfectly fine to not just bloodied, but almost immediately taken into the critically wounded phase of life. She is looking rough. Go Team A squad. When none of those were close for the parry. Bob ignored it last time. I think she's going to attack Terry at the end of his turn. Should be able to hit Terry with what's his AC? It's like 15, 16? Not
I think he's
19?
pretty high with heavy armor.
If I recall, the Warlord is 18, I think.
18? All right. Yeah, I got a 18 to hit. So, a hit it will be. She is rocking out a long sword. I think is a D8 one-handed.
Yep.
She is going to deal Oh wait, he's got to make a save against 12 AC. God damn it, it had to be high. Son of a bitch. I never get to do anything. Yeah, so she slashes out at Terry. He basically like just like bears this wound as she like stabs into him. And you just see like Terry almost like pull her in closer as he like jabs his blade in deeper into her. And she definitely comes off worse for wear as the two of them kind of exchange these blows. Gonna go to uh her turn, and we'll start off with this attempt to break free of Earthen Grasp, and it's gonna fail. And you guys are going to hear the door to the east is going to open up, and you are going to hear as someone kind of like step into the doorway. I would thank you not to damage my creations further than their repairs would be economical. The desire to live should be accepted as everyone's prerogative. Please release her. And you see as this person kind of like is opening up this door and they have like appendages kind of growing out of their back. Some of them have flesh over part of them. Most of them are entirely metal. There's like three, four, five. There's many of these things moving a little bit too fast to keep count of. But you can basically almost see that this person has their two arms, their two legs, and maybe like 6 to 8 other appendages kind of like growing from their back. Some of them have like pincer claws. Some of them almost seem to have like shearing claws. Some of them have like needles with like massive vials of some sort of liquid inside of it. Others have like tubes connected to this person's back, and you can see like drip with some sort of like red kind of gelatinous like substance. This person is walking chaos tech. Their face is almost entirely metallic, as it seems like a almost like traditional knight's like armor. Only there's like clear signs where it's like sewn into the flesh, as if their actual face were replaced by this very simple kind of like fear knight like form. And they seem to be speaking not like through the actual metal of the mask, but almost like broadcasting it out from beyond their flesh.
Oh my God, Nephi, what have they done to you?
And I would like Karina and Bob to make wisdom saving throws, please.
Bob got a
Uh,
9.
yeah, Karina's a 5.
It just does it change at all if it were charisma? I don't think it should, but
Nope, that'd still be a flat roll for Karina.
Yeah, same with Bob.
gotcha. So as she's like opening up this door and she's like saying this as she like steps towards that doorway, you just see is like two of these arms just like almost incidentally like brush past Karina and then brush past Bob, and you see like there's a moment of contact and Karina disappears. Moment of contact, Bob disappears. And then she just kind of continues without like skipping a step. Is there a reason you've come to my home? I think it would actually be better if they said, if you came to my place of work.
So Dalton's going to kind of like turn, like maybe turn his attention from the thing in the vat to this thing stepping forward, and maybe like just in time to see Karina and Bob seem to suddenly disappear. Um, and just as he's kind of like opening his mouth to like be like, where the hell did they go? He hears this question. Um, and he kind of like after a pause, kind of a little bit in shock at seeing two of his companions just suddenly disappear. Um, we, we came looking for a friend. Nefrandel. You are the one they call the surgeon, no?
So does Dalton intend to kind of like halt this moment of combat to ask these questions? Are you kind of standing down at this kind of moment?
No, I think he'll still have his weapon up. So if anything, he's be like kind of if he can say that and essentially like taking the dodge action. So not attacking, but not. Um,
Gotcha. Where does that put Gale and Jinx?
I think my first thing would be recognizing if there was like any way I could tell what made them disappear. Like, does it seem like an invisibility? Does it seem like a banishment? Like something that I could recognize?
Do you have banishment?
No, I don't have anything like that.
Do bards have access to banishment?
I don't even think it's like within our level yet. Not sure.
I mean, I think
Let me
it's
look it up real quick.
4th level spell, right? Yeah, it is 4th level banishment.
Okay,
but
so no, there's no way I would have access until next magical.
Yeah, so it has to be magical secrets. Yeah, I would say in the long run, unless in particular you were looking at it as a magical secret, I would say there's no reason for you to recognize what happened here.
Okay, so not sure if this is a hostile like action fully yet or not, like if it's breaking out.
I mean, you're still having a conversation with this person, so there's a certain sense of this is not entirely hostile yet.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think I'm gonna like hang tight on casting anything right now. Maybe I will just I'm just gonna hold my Bane up for now. Keep it up. I'm not gonna drop it like requested.
As for Gale, I think he's. Sorry.
Do you actually want to like take the dodge action and try to be prepared to keep yourself out of harm's way? Do you want to hold an action to cast a spell? I guess you may not necessarily need to as a warcaster, but had you thought about it on that level?
I guess if I see the main guy start to cast something, or like do something hostile, whatever, I'll do a hold person. Or wait, I guess that would burn the spell anyway, though, right?
Yeah, you would cast hold person regardless of whether you let it off or not.
Okay, so maybe I'll just hold a vicious mockery against it if it's like hostile or starts to cast it. And
And then
then
what were you thinking there, Gil?
and I want to say something too. Just say like, hey, now if you want to de-escalate the scenario, you better bring our friends back. I take that as a hostile action.
Yeah, with that, Gale goes, yeah, I'm not letting your creation go unless we see our friends back.
Are you holding an action, taking a dodge action?
I think I will hold an action to throw a firebolt at like creation, the guard thing. If the doctor takes any hostile actions.
Excellent. I don't believe you understand the nature of this situation. You've come to my home. You are my guests, and I should not forget to treat you with all the kindness necessarily given to those who would harm my friends. And as they like whisper these words, friends, you just see as all of these appendages start to like drip down liquid and ice starts to form. And there's just a cone that blasts out of this person. And all of you can take your held actions, and then I need dexterity saving throws as you are blasted with a cone of cold. Oh, Constitution saving throws. My bad.
It's gonna be a 12 for Dalton on the con save.
Dodge action gives you advantage on that, though, right? What is it? Dodge action is just advantage on dexterity.
Thought it was just for dexterity saving throws. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So you would just get the normal. And what did you say you rolled on at a 12?
12. Yeah, which I'm guessing is a failure.
Oh yeah, big fail.
Let's see, and sorry,
Nope. Go ahead.
yeah, Gale hit the guard thing creation with the firebolt, or at least I think it will
Gotcha.
hit with a 23 to hit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's a guaranteed kill because you got 2 damage dice. So no worries there on how much damage you did. What did you roll for your con save?
I rolled a 19.
Meets. Um. Oh wait, no, no, that's even better. And Jinx.
I got a natural 20 for 24 total.
Alrighty, so I may get to kill Dalton here, and Terry.
Should be like 19, I think.
Gotcha, should be good then. So everyone is going to take 23. Dalton, you are taking a full 47 cold damage.
All right, so that it's not enough to be an auto kill, but I definitely drops me to 0.
Oh, that's such weird language, but I think that sounds about right. A creature killed by this spell becomes a frozen statue until it thaws. I feel like it would say a creature brought to 0 by this becomes a frozen statue until it thaws. If it actually like was 0 that killed you.
Yeah, because like some other spells specify like if it reduces you to 0 hit points, XYZ happens.
Yeah, like disintegration. Yeah.
Yep.
Um. So yeah, you are going to see as Dalton is frozen and brought low. Um, you know what? What is that? That's going to take Terry to I guess 2. He's got 2 hit dice left. Yeah, so that's the only reason he's standing is because he saved that hit before. And then the two of you take 23. And it's going to return to you all. Let's start off with a death save from Dalton. Excellent.
And then for con check, well, I guess it doesn't matter. I was going to drop my con anyway. Yeah, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, the creature's dead.
I just have to step away for 1 minute, but I'm still.
Let's make this the break then. Let's take the break here.
Oh, can I just roll my con check for the Earthen Grasp?
For the Earthen Grasp?
Yeah, because that's a
Yeah,
con.
sure.
Oh, but isn't that thing dead anyway?
No, it still stays even after like the thing itself died, because it can attack other creatures as well.
Oh, gotcha.
One is 26.
You had a 26 on your con?
No, I got a 18.
That's good.
All right, so I'll just see you guys in a few minutes.
All right.
Yep. Thanks. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'm back.
Excellent.
Yeah, hello, and I'm still here, and welcome back.
Yeah, I'm good as well.
Alrighty. So I think that brings us back to effectively the start of the turn. We are post death save. Um and I think that's all basically. Start of you guys' turn. Gale or Jinx, what are you guys doing?
So I am going to run over to the carcass Dalton. I will attempt to breathe some life back into our fallen. So yeah, I'm going to do a 3rd level cure wounds on Dalton. So it'll be 17 hit points. I don't think now is the best time to be dying, Dalton. Get up, we need you. And then I'm going to do bonus action, and I'm going to give Bardic Inspiration to Dalton as well. Oh shit, actually, is it? Man, I already said that and rolled and everything. Can I do the party heal instead? Is that possible?
Yeah, that's fine.
I
I'm
like
not sure if Gale's taking damage, have you? Oh,
Well,
it's
you just
for
hit us with
Terry
that.
though.
Yeah, you just hit us with that freaking cold.
Oh yeah,
coming
the cone of cold, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, well, I guess I'll just heal Dalton, and then I'm like, wait, everybody just took like 30 damage. Okay, so sorry, nix that Dalton, and then Staff of Healing for everybody, which I'm about to roll. Oh, well, it's the same actual roll. Do you want me to just reuse that, or do you want me to roll again?
Whatever you roll before is fine.
Okay, so everybody gains back 17 hit points instead of just Dalton. And then the other stuff, and I'm done.
As for Gale, I think he's gonna try to grovel a bit. Yeah, he's gonna drop concentration on the Vertimillion's grasp means. Oh, I'd say this. Alright, you're obviously more powerful than us. Sorry, we came off on the wrong foot here. We'll stand down and then like look to the others, like hoping that no one attacks. Was it Tertian?
Sounds good. Do you want that to be your action? You can do a persuasion. If you're just kind of saying it and you just want to kind of feel it out, you could do something like holding an action or like even taking like the dodge action.
I think I want to make that my action, and I'm gonna use my inspiration for that.
Excellent. So give me a persuasion with advantage.
2 14s. Yeah, that's a 13 total.
2 14s for 13. Excellent. Dalton, you are waking up on the ground. You've got a bloody razor blade in your hand or beside your hand, and you've technically got your sword beside you as well. I think you're coming up before you hear Gale say that, so you also have the foreknowledge that like Gale is effectively trying to stall this situation to bring it a little calm.
Okay, so I did hear what he said.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Dalton is probably still shivering a bit after the blast of cold, but conscious once more. He is going to, I think he's going to kind of lift his hands up, and kind of following Gale's lead here, and essentially he's going to he'll move to stand without picking up a weapon, just kind of
Gotcha.
holding where he is.
Can I pause you a second here? What is your total hit points right now? Like for today?
Max is
Max hit
35.
points? 35?
Yeah.
Right. So you would have taken a system shock hit,
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
which
It was,
maximum it just drops you to 0. So that's not a big deal. But it would also, because you went to 0 anyways, it would do a lingering injury. Can you roll a d20 for me? I want to see what sort of lingering injury you're going to have from that freezing blast.
sure.
Yeah, but doesn't it just go away when you get magical healing?
Depends what it is. Would you roll a 1?
It's a 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So at present, like you like wake up and you're like blinking back into reality. You feel like a shearing cold, like cutting feeling as you like blink with one of your eyes. Please roll a die. Odd is your left eye, even is your right eye. So
Left
you
eye.
have lost your left eye. At present, it is a frozen block of ice. You are effectively blind in your left eye until you have magic such as regenerate. That is a high level spell cast on you to heal this. Dalton is going to be blind in the left eye for some time. Unless you guys, basically can beg somebody of a pretty high level to cast that spell for you.
Oh,
Oh, so were we just playing the lasting injuries wrong, and they're actually a lot cooler?
I feel like you guys haven't really dealt with lingering injuries, and when you have, you've had pretty mild versions of them. 1 through 4 on the lingering injuries are pretty horrific. They're like change your character forever. 5 through 20, not a big deal. Like not as big of a deal.
Oh, but the lingering injury is different. That's like if you get knocked unconscious and take a system shock.
Yeah, yeah. The system shock is very minor. That's most of what the system shock is like if you take a single big hit, there's a chance that it can knock you down to like just knocked unconscious.
And
Um
that's the one as soon as you get magical healing, like those go away.
yeah, I think the ones that have it um no, system shock doesn't have like lingering effects. It's purely just what you guys have rolled in the past have been pretty minor where yeah, magical healing just reduces them and it's gone.
Oh, okay. So maybe I just didn't realize that
Yeah, like
sometimes.
internal injury is 5 to 7. That's just gone by magical healing.
But
And
like,
8
yeah,
to 10 includes that, so it's the same. Once it's magical healed, it's gone. 11 to 13 magical healing of 6th level or higher removes the scar. But like
Oh,
they're all
okay.
there.
So I
I've
guess
got them
I
all
just didn't
posted.
realize. Yeah, I guess I just didn't realize there was different ones.
yeah. But like, if you get your arm locked off, right? Like, cure wounds is not going to heal that.
Yeah, same thing with losing an arm. That's regenerate. Almost all the time, if you lose some part of you, regenerate. Um, but it just so happens that you guys know of Chaos Tech, and I could put an eye in that hole for you. But yeah, my bad. I wanted to make sure to hit that because I constantly struggle to remember to use the system shock and the lingering injuries, and I feel like those are one of the things that's in a heroic fantasy world at least gives like the chance of showing that like there's a reason adventurers retire, and sometimes it is basically these little things where it's like a taste of death. You guys can heal past a lot of stuff, but you are not immune to everything that you come across. So yeah, my bad there, Dalton. You're coming to consciousness, but you feel a horrific pain in your left eye as like blinking is like the ice of this frozen eyeball is cutting into the inside of your eyelid, and like that's causing more pain. You don't necessarily feel that eye. You don't have nerves, and the ones that are there are like frozen, so there's damage in that level. Um, but it would be a pretty horrific feeling to have, like, basically frostbite of the eye.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Dalton is kind of, so he's standing up. He's kind of, he's going to like raise his hand, in like a almost like again following Gail's lead, but then like kind of as he realizes maybe like after a second of like shock that like he can't like see anything and something feels off, is like one hand is going to kind of go to his left eye and almost start kind of feeling blindly, and you'll see kind of a look of kind of horror come over his face because he doesn't know exactly what happened, but he is essentially standing back and I guess trying to take the dodge action. And then just mechanically, um, what would be the effects of essentially being blinded in one eye? Like, is it, I would assume something like disadvantage on perception, like in combat, is there an effect?
I don't know if it's actually going to cause any immediate change to your character, except for the fact that you basically now only have one eye. That it's easier for something to then happen to your right eye, and you're blind. I don't believe there is any mechanical necessity for anything to change immediately. But to be honest with you, I don't really um have any ideas of like the game saying this or that. I would just kind of stick to the idea that like, for what it's worth, if something happens in the future where you have like a lingering injury, if you rolled that again and it happened to your right eye, you are blind. But that's kind of the difference is like the next time something happens, if you rolled an eye injury, you might still roll that the eye injury happened to your left eye where you don't have an eyeball.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I guess the only thing I can think of would be, aside from that, perception thing, but it'd be like if he gets flanked, then whoever's on his blind side would almost get like even more advantage than the +2. But
I could see something like that being the like kind of end result, but I'm not even terribly inclined to go for that. I would be more inclined to say ranged attacks might have disadvantage because you no longer have depth perception. Um,
yeah,
but I don't even necessarily think that's the same to say like your sword attacks should be disadvantaged. Um, but yeah, that's kind of like the big thing that I think by losing an eye is the loss of your depth perception, and I would think that is more substantial for ranged than to necessarily say everything else. And again, I don't want it to like destroy your possibilities as a character, because to tell like a rogue that you have disadvantage on all of your attacks, you can no longer sneak attack. That's not the goal here. The goal is to give you something to role play that is both interesting and could be game changing, not that it immediately is. Because if it had to be game changing, it's like death is traditional enough that you could role play that, you know? So I would say in the long run, it's more an invitation for you to role play it, and it might be an invitation for you to have something to delve down a different path than you might have gone on before.
yeah, sounds good.
So let's see. I didn't write down what I said before the break. I believe I chastised you all for attacking while guests of the home. Um, so, well, if we're giving due respect where it is necessary, um, I believe we can certainly be finished with any sort of hostilities. And you'll see as she's kind of like moving forward, but also kind of like still like looking at you all. Like some of these appendages are already like picking up the corpse of the female, and like two of them are already like holding her by the neck as another one is starting to like saw into the skull and is already starting to like remove the top of her cranium. And you'll see as it immediately starts to like pump out her brain mass the whole time while this person's attention is like focused on all of you all. And you've been looking for your friend Nefrandel.
Yeah,
Yeah, know where she is?
I do believe she's one of my patients. Uh, Caster, please bring out our newest guests. See if this is who they are looking for. You'll hear like movement kind of like moving through the house beyond that like northern door. A few minutes go by while you guys are kind of in this room. Um, Conversation is not gonna be like absolute necessity for us to pass the time. You hear movement behind like the door. You'll basically have she kind of explains like, you know, everyone who comes to me has come of their own free will. There are some who are not allowed to leave because they have come and invaded my home. And you'll see like kind of another like moment of like kind of chastisement towards you all. But those who are offered gifts are paying customers. Very rarely do I have to do such barbaric things as to make permanent alterations to those who are uninvited guests. And kind of as that time passes by, you're going to have as Karina kind of pops back, Bob kind of pops back. She like is already going over and basically like grabbing um effectively like another brain from within a vat that's like sitting on one of the shelves over in the operating area and kind of like putting it inside of like the skull of the female. And again, like most of this is happening without her attention even being on the arms. She's like mid conversation with you while her arms are like doing this surgery, and while this creature seems to be getting like a new brain kind of put inside of it, before you're going to see a dwarf comes through that back room. um Let me get a perception check from the three of you. Please let Dalton roll the highest.
Jinx is
Uh,
17.
Gales is a 10.
and 14 for Dalton.
Gotcha. Jinx, you notice when like the door opens in the back, you see that there's like a human male who's kind of like just standing in a corner and is almost like looking through the door. And you can see that he has like four arms that are not like as dexterous as you see like the surgeon in the shadows, like how like hers are like very attuned to her movements and kind of like flow with each of her steps. This person seems to be some sort of maybe like a practice sort of thing, but you can see that they have like four little bit bulkier arms. Each of these have like a sword, like a cleaver, almost like serrated on the ends of them. And you can see like they all are kind of like moving and almost like jittery. And you just notice like this person who's like staring through the doorway, it's like each of his breaths seem to like cause these arms to move. It's going to be like a flash that you don't get enough to really recognize or understand why this person's like breathing changes like where their arms are. But you basically see enough to understand that there's like a four-armed or rather an octopus, eight arms, kind of two arms, two legs, and four sword appendages, like just standing in the corner of this room, like staring at you. And their breath kind of activates these arms as he just stares. So Jinx just kind of picks that up as the door kind of opens. There's this dwarf who kind of comes in and he brings a woman with her, with him, who seems to be um about like 6 or so feet tall, like maybe 5'8", 5'10" kind of thing. Taller than the dwarf, who's probably about like 4.5 feet. She seems slender. She doesn't really have like clothes of what you would normally wear. You can see that she's basically been stripped to what is effectively like her undergarments, and they're not especially clean, as this is probably somebody who's been here for some time. And that's when like the surgeon in the shadows kind of like gives like full attention again and kind of turns. Thank you, Caster. Is this your friend Nefrandel? She came not long ago, seemed to be snooping around. This week, 3 days, 3 days maybe ago.
And does this look like Nefrandel?
No, 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 my bad. You guys have definitely seen Neffy enough. You should know that's not Neffy. Whoops.
Like, I wasn't sure. Yeah, I wasn't sure of the what the extent of the changes that might have been wrought.
That's Nefrandel's token.
Okay, I was thinking that, but just wanted to make sure, like her entire body hadn't been replaced by like a robot body or something. Plus, Delton's half blind, so.
Make an insight check here, Dalton.
8.
Excellent. You are definitely half blind. But yeah, you guys can tell, like, as you're like looking at this person the dwarf brings in, they're distraught. She is not happy to basically be bound. Does not appear to have any chaos tech. Neither do they appear to be somebody who is here of their own free will, and it is most certainly not Nefrandel.
What are we missing? That's not our friend. What made you think that was Nefrandel?
When you actually say what makes you think this is Nefrandel, um, she like kind of like motioned a little bit when the surgeon had said it, with like a little like piqued interest. You might have noticed that like something else kind of caught her eye for a moment, but after a moment goes by, and she hears like Jinx say it again, you can kind of see a little bit of like the cloud about her personality kind of like go, and I've I came looking for Nefrandel. My name is Lavis. I sent her here by accident before she went missing. I did not mean. I'm trying to help her.
Lavis. Why does that name sound familiar? Boys know a Lavis?
You guys have been searching for Lavis Falamir for over a week now, about 8 days. You also thought, or should think, that Lavis should be a male, should be a man who runs a book stall.
Yeah, so Dalton is like he's like squinting his one, non-frozen eye, and but when he hears the name, he's going to he will at this point as it's like the fighting has calmed down. He will go ahead and pick up you know pick up the weapons he had dropped and resheath them. Um,
You might notice the dwarf is a little bit like more panicked by your movements, but the surgeon in the shadows doesn't really react at all, and the dwarf doesn't necessarily do anything hostile there. Um, when you do move a little bit more, you'll basically hear Lava say, like, "You may not recognize me, but I sold you." And I'm going to name that book that she sold you as a different person. The original settling sailors of Polis. I don't. I still should have written down this book so many times.
oh, no worries. Yep. Yeah, and Dalton will kind of tilt his head, and it may just be, and he'll kind of gesture to the frozen eye. Although he probably doesn't even know exactly what it looks like. Like, for all he knows, well, I guess he can feel it. Like, he can feel it. And like, it may just be, and he'll kind of gesture to that. But you look quite different from the last time I saw you.
If I had my normal clothes, spell focus. I do not do business as myself. Um, yeah, this is kind of one of those weird things. Does anybody have access to disguise self?
Dalton does, and he's
Yeah, so she'll like start to describe um some of the like components basically that she would require without her actual spell focus. What is it, verbal and somatic? Oh yeah, so really she's just like uh if I could just free my hands, I could take my normal form and prove to you that you know me. And I don't see any particular reason why. Yeah, I guess really what it would kind of come down to is the surgeon would kind of like pipe in like with this, like, if she's not your friend, you've not come for her. She should be of no worries to you. You say you search for a Nefrandel? I have other guests here. Do you intend to take all of my patrons?
if it's as you say, and the others are here of their own free will. But this one, Lavis here, seems she was only trying to perhaps made the same mistake that we did. We would certainly appreciate if you could show her the same magnanimity. Kind of choke on that word a little bit.
When
Another
you
thing in
try
I,
to say it, when you try to say it, she's gonna be like, magnanimity. Yes. Are you having some difficulty with your eye? I could fix that for you. Great powers can be gained with loss. You don't have to feel forever. For a price. As are your friend here, she came like you, unbeckoned. For a price, could leave. And maybe my other guest is your friend Nefrandel, who did indeed come here of her own volition. Some 3, and you'll hear the dwarf say 4, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's her. Bring her. That's Nefrandel.
So you'll see the surgeon kind of like nod her head, and the dwarf like starts to take this woman like back with her, and she's like once again like, please help me, just free my hands. I'll show you I am him.
Leave her until we talk to Nefrandel. I want to get a story straight. They pay for her freedom or her justice, depending if her story's true.
Fine, fine. Caster, stay here. Tell the brute. Bring the other one, this Nefrandel. I wish I knew the name that I used for Neffy when she was under her like disguise uh with the Brotherhood. I
Oh,
don't have it in today's name. Purifin?
yeah, I have it.
All right, so yeah, she just kind of like says to the dwarf like stay here, caster, and she says what is it? Tell Cleaver to bring Purifin if she's feeling well enough. And this is where the dwarf kind of like opens up the door, says to Cleaver, who, guess what, is the person with 4 extra arms that all end in cleavers. That person starts to move to the south out of view, and you'll basically have A few moments go by before Cleaver brings Nefrandel out. And when you see Nefrandel, she is not going to look precisely how you remember. You see Nefrandel appears to have like steel shoulders. She has like open kind of wounds on her arms, and you can kind of see where like the flesh ends at like the top of her arms, like at the um I don't know, if the sun were just directly overhead, like high noon, like where the sun falls on her arms is like all steel, like from her shoulders all the way down, like to the like actual hands. You can see this, like the back of her hands, are also like this kind of steel. She just looks like almost as if kind of like metal was kind of like poured on her from above. She kind of like gleams with this sharp, fresh, new, like gleaming silver. Um, Hello. I didn't intend for you all to follow. And she'll like see Dalton like already like kind of like bleeding and like showing signs of this, and like there's a little moment of shock, and she's like, I'm sorry. These friends would they would have followed me because I was not perhaps clear. I left a note. I said I was going. I was happy. I did this. I and she'll like shows no sign of shock. That Val or Lavis is here. You can kind of perhaps take away that like Nefrandel already knew Lavis was being held here. What you'll see is like Castor brings her in. Castor does not like hold her. She is not bound. Castor basically like returns to the other room. The door shuts. Nefrandel is just kind of like waiting beside you guys.
You're not in danger. Not being held here. You just decided you needed whatever the hell this is, some kind of body modification.
I didn't just decide it. I've known for a while how incredible it can be. We've all come across this, and I didn't want to miss a chance when I had the opportunity. I've been searching for these people for a long time.
What exactly is the purpose of whatever you did to yourself?
I'm a bit of an acolyte in the surgeon's own image. I kind of have more room to work now. And you will see as she kind of like spreads and flexes her arms, she effectively has 5 arms where each arm is. So like where each finger kind of comes to a point is its own sort of like grasping mechanism at the end of each of her arms. One of the best ways to kind of describe that is like a ghost in the shell kind of character, where like this person's like a typist. Each hand is like a particular part of like this whole arm. So she can like put them all back together and they look relatively like a normal hand with metal kind of like covering part of or like over some of the flesh or exposed to some of the flesh. But like when she actually extends it, she has 10 arms. If I wear long sleeve shirts, people won't even be able to tell. But when I'm in my laboratory, it's so much more ability for activities.
I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't at least a little bit jealous. It's an interesting decision. Definitely not my first choice, but I understand how extra appendage or two come in. Where the hell did you leave the note at? I didn't find a note.
In the goblin hide? I think I thought I left it with, and she like looks over at Terry Chen. I thought I left it with you. One of the goblins maybe took it. I don't. Maybe I left it at home. I just thought I brought it over. I don't know. I swear I left you a note. This is in part me. I don't remember if I actually gave you guys the note or not. I think it is hilarious either way. If I did, I thought about starting off today by giving it to you again, and I thought it would be interesting regardless. But she basically goes over like really quickly. It's essentially like a note that says, "Hey all, I'm gonna be going over my own kind of choices here, and I don't want you to come looking after me, but I'm safe." And I'm gonna be a new person. I'm gonna have a new body. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be okay. And it's just signed Nefrandel.
Awesome. We've been searching for you for like 4 weeks or 3 weeks or so. Obviously, we didn't find enough. Glad that you're okay. And I think we owe this woman an apology for breaking in here. Sorry.
Yeah, so one of the things to keep in mind is Nefrandel is still like a very young teenager. So the idea that she would like basically write a note that says, "Hey, I'm okay. I'm gonna go get a new body," as if that is acceptable, is one of my favorite parts about this idea. Um, yeah, it says, "Thank you for everything you have done for me. I go to live a new life with a new body." That's what the note should have said. That's what she should have said to you. I think that's absolutely hilarious. Like, yep, that solves everything. We're not going to come looking after you as if that isn't frightening. But yeah, she kind of like says that, and like when you say like we've been looking for you 4 weeks, and she like kind of like turns around, and you can see like the swelling and kind of like the redness in her shoulder blades. There's signs that she is technically still like wounded from these surgeries, but you can also kind of see like much of the wounding has like healed at this point. I'm still getting better. I think I was gonna leave in the next few days. I was close today because I definitely have been thinking about you all as well. And I know like Danbury probably will still have a job for me, and I kind of intended to go back there because I wanted to make the money to help Lavis out because I also didn't really intend for Lavis to get in trouble. So now we're all kind of in trouble, and I never intended for any of this. I just wanted to be better.
So
By
this is
now,
it.
like,
This is the
go ahead.
reason that you don't make sidekicks partners because of this. You'd have never had enough money to do this insanity, cause all these problems. It's all fault. It's my fault.
We agreed to
You
partners
never
on day
made.
one. It's definitely your fault. Dalton definitely said we were not partners.
That's fine. I accept responsibility. I don't know Lavis though, so I don't really have anything vested interest in that one. No offense.
you can already see, like, at this point, like, the surgeon is already, like, poking and prodding at the female on the table, and, like, her muscle, like, response is already kind of coming back as she, like, puts the new brain inside of the head, and she's already kind of, like, fusing the skull back on, like, a whole new set of stitches going around the flesh on her skull, like, within, like, 15 or 20 minutes she's like returned this creature to life. If you intend to take your friend, Kerafin, Nefrandel, whatever you are today, you're welcome to go. You should have some assistance of a healer or someone with proper understanding of healing poultices, with the next few days still being risky for your new limbs. But I believe you're safe enough to go home if you would like. Levis, if you all don't care, would be a fine addition to my household. If you would like her back, name a price, I'll see if it's worth it. And Levis just kind of looks to you all. I'll pay it if you all will just pay for my freedom, information, gold, whatever you need, and get it for you.
Why'd you come here looking for Nefrandel? She was here on her own volition.
She looks at Neffy, and Neffy like looks at her. Well, I just had help from Lavis. I came looking after the surgeon. Lavis didn't necessarily know that I was going to be gone for so long. She showed up last week. I kind of understand, like, looking for me for a few weeks might feel extensive, kind of like I died or was in trouble. And I didn't leave Lavis a note.
Okay. How much did your procedure cost?
Um, if we need to talk about money, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
You can kind of gather that, like, everything you guys have earned since you've been with Neff, and then she's also been working at Danbury's, might have gotten thrown at these arms. Which I think is pretty solid to say it's like 3 to like 4,000 gold, probably.
Yeah, Dalton's gonna look towards to Jinx and Gale and can't kind of quietly say like we can't leave Abbas here in this place, and he'll kind of like glance around to get the tables and everything. Neffy's chosen to do is, well, that's one thing, but
Oh God, Dalton, what happened to your face? Your eyes. Oh my God.
one thing at a time. Trying not to think about it. But Dalton is going to kind of
Walk
looking.
behind Gale and bump into the wall.
Yeah, that perception is definitely still off, and kind of almost like feeling his way a little bit, but trying to look like he's not, like he's, but he's going to call, towards the surgeon. I could give you 200 gold if you let us leave with Lavis here. It would also, he's gonna again kind of gesture towards his the frozen eye, and it would make me more comfortable considering my own suddenly needed enhancement. You let her come with us.
Yeah, so as she like approaches, when you sort of like call her over, she'll like approach a little closer. Again, she's already kind of like finished up with the female with and what do they call? I feel like she's quick Speedy. She's Speedy, the other one's Cleaver. Um, as she like finishes up with Speedy, like she like kind of like gives it like that name, and you'll hear as she kind of says like, Rye Speedy after like testing it, and she'll like walk over to you to like grab these gold, and immediately like some of her probes are kind of like reaching forward towards you. Um, do you let them start to like touch your face as she approaches you?
I think he instinctively kind of like flinches back a little bit, but um, he's trying to. He doesn't want to upset, so he's kind of. It's clearly making him uncomfortable, but he will eventually you know, allow her to kind of, yeah, feel around. So he's clearly not happy about it.
I don't believe it would be difficult to fix this injury. If you would like, there are many different options for which we could install solutions. One of the greatest things that you must imagine is, what do you want to accomplish with this device? Are you simply looking to acquire what you have lost? Do you care to see the dangers around the corner? The dangers before your next choice? Do you want to see what is before you? Do you want to change the reality ahead? With loss comes opportunity. Contemplate how you want this fixed. I'll take your gold now for her, but I'll give you this. And she'll place in your hand a little coin, and it just seems like one of the gold lions that she took out of the like 200 that you just gave her. But as she kind of says, "I'll give you this," you see is like the gold lion almost like melts in your hand and turns to like liquid gold. But as it kind of like re-solidifies, never getting like hot in your hand, but as it like re-solidifies, it's taken the shape of like a lidless eye, an eye without a socket, but like in two dimensions, and it seems to just be looking at you. um when you're ready, find me, call to me, and we can discuss the options before you. Until then, and she looks like across to the others, I hope you do not come into my home unbidden. I won't be here again. You are not welcome in hostility. My services must remain private. And she looks back to Dalton and she winks her left eye.
Dalton kind of recoils a little bit, but then he kind of swallows and nods and will kind of make a show of putting the coin into his pouch. Be funny if like he goes and like because of his depth perception he like drops it on the floor and has to go pick it up and then actually like kind of place it in the pouch a second time. But
Hey, I guess while we have you here and everything, and again, I do apologize because it's really my fault. Matter of fact, I may have found a note and forgot to read it. But regardless, all that aside, do you know what these modifications do prior to installation? And should someone present you with some chaos tech, would you be able to tell what it does?
The more mundane objects are certainly far clearer before you. The more powerful objects can often be otherwise. Um, she's not necessarily kicking you out and is kind of open to sort of like talking sort of like a little bit of like about what cast tech really is. So if you guys like spend a little bit of time talking to her, she could probably answer some more questions. Do you think you have that intention of like hanging around longer and picking her brain?
Oh yeah, I definitely would, because I'm already like curious about this, and we found that eye a long time ago too, so I'm curious about that as well.
Oh wait, you guys already had an eyeball, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we have an eyeball. I was thinking about selling it to Dalton. I'm just kidding about selling it. We do actually have an eyeball.
Oh, I don't remember that one in particular. Was that from the electrical guy who was like almost installed into the room and he was like hanging on like the appendages in like that chapel to the chaos gods?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, so I feel like again without knowing specifically at this point like from my notes wise, I feel like that eye was meant to effectively like shoot lightning bolts kind of thing. Um, but like, yeah, when you have the conversation with the surgeon in the shadows here, you can kind of gain the idea that like the more mundane you want something to be, the more simple it can be. It doesn't mean everything's going to come out exactly as you imagine. There's definitely a level of kind of like a monkey paw to the conversation. It's really easy to talk about what you want and get something not necessarily completely different, but get more than you imagined because that's what the surgeon kind of installs. So, Neffy might have said, like, I want more like arms for doing my work, and not necessarily understand that the surgeon's going to test out and see if she can turn each finger into the end of an arm like appendage. Neffy might have been imagining like 10 hands as well instead of just individual fingers. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain level of like a mundane thing is easier to have very simply come out, but it doesn't mean something crazy won't happen. Just like saying, I kind of want to be able to shoot a lightning bolt from my eye, might be what you ask for, and you have to be like hooked up into a massive power generator in order to like charge the eyeball. So there's a lot of different ways kind of things go, but that's kind of like where the simplest part of the conversation kind of goes. Often the simpler the install, the easier it is to be just what it is. The more um excellent you want it, the more chaos might be drawn into like what it requires. So like she'll explain like Cleaver is like someone who their jaw operates these four extra arms. Cleaver can't talk. She removed his voice box because to talk could move those arms in random ways. He has to be really controlled how he moves his jaw, or he could like kill himself, kind of thing. Like Speedy, is described as like has to um and it's almost like described kind of like as haste, where like haste you like go really fast and then you suffer through that like slow lag when it like bears down on you and it ends. Speedy operates incredibly slowly, but inside of like the pace of like combat kind of thing, she's just insanely fast. But you can't maintain that like in perpetude. It is only while functioning under this way. Does that sound like a pretty solid explanation?
Oh yeah, it's like one of those drug commercials, but they don't disclose like all the side effects.
No, well, you will understand that if the FDA tells you what the drug does, they have to tell you the side effects. So, at least in the US, if they don't tell you what the drug does on a commercial, they didn't want to tell you the side effects. That drug's fucked. But yeah, it's important to kind of recognize like there's a lot of very mundane chaos tech, as simple as sort of like muscle strengthening kind of things, where they add like sort of metallic fibers to your muscle structure to get a little bit stronger. That's fine. Um, Adding kind of like metal to your flesh so you're a little bit more well armored. That's simple. That's fine. Uh, but like getting some of the extra things becomes like kind of tapping a little bit more into chaos, and like maybe that's one of those moments where you kind of understand like the surgeon sort of is describing like how having extra appendages for accomplishing necessary tasks, and you start to recognize that like maybe she didn't want appendages that operate of their own volition, and when she had these things basically put in, never kind of came to terms with the fact that she wouldn't control them. And maybe that's why she can like have a conversation with you while these things are doing surgery, because she might not control those arms. And that's kind of what I was getting at, is like it's just a question of like how far do you go and how far does the chaos kind of bleed into it. um Yeah, I feel like that's kind of where most of like what she could share in say like an hour of kind of being with her would fit.
And just out of curiosity, you say you're not going to be in this place again. I don't blame you. How are we supposed to get in contact with? Say my friend wants to get his eye fixed.
You are not supposed to get in contact with me. Your friend can contact me if he so desires, and it would be best if he does desire for you all to forget that he has stepped away for a time.
I think that's what this might be for. Jinx and Dalton will fish out again the coin with the lidless eye, and then he'll have also said like basically like I'll need some time to think about this, and then he'll try to make like a joke, and want to see how dashing I might look with an eye patch first. But Dalton's still a little too much kind of like in shock to want to immediately jump into any sort of modifications. But it'll definitely be something in the back of his mind that he's going to be thinking about.
Well, you've got everything we were looking for. All right, then we'll take Neffy with us and this one too, I guess. and be on our way.
Gotcha. Yeah. So like as the conversation goes on, after you like paid to free, I want to say like a V name constantly. Valis comes to mind every time, but Lavis, as you like pay for Lavis earlier on, she would have turned back into her alias. Again, I don't think you ever really got this name, but when you met her, you met Darthalis Temester. That is who her alias is, who she does business as, and it's part of how she keeps herself safe, kind of like moving between different groups. You basically can understand like when she's like pushing around the cart, she's him. Whenever she has to, she turns back into herself and disappears because most people don't really know her. And that's kind of how she operates. And you guys now understand part of that secret.
Oh, and Dalton, I would split that gold with you.